Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the chairman of the HJF Council of Directors, Mr. Philip A. O'Dean.
Thank you, and again, thank you all for being here tonight for this wonderful event and helping us raise money for our wonderful foundation. It's my honor tonight to be here to introduce the 2013 Hero of Military Medicine Senior Leader Award, who's offered to say a few words in terms of in support of this year's winner. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to meet the 19th Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Joe Dunford, the senior military person and the senior advisor to the President and the Secretary of Defense, General Dunford.
Hey, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thanks, Phil, for the introduction. And I'd like to join the many who have thanked the Henry M. Jackson Foundation for their tremendous support to military medicine. It's my honor to introduce this year's Senior Leader Awards. Before I do that, I want to thank all of you here tonight who contribute to the world-class medical care that we deliver to our people. The highlight of your accomplishments, particularly in the last 14 years, I could go on and on. I could talk about the survival rates. I could talk about return to duty rates. I could talk about how many amputees have actually returned to duty. And I could talk about the responsiveness of our medevac, our CASEVAC teams. I could talk about how many have gone through trauma care. But to tell you the truth, I think that would almost trivialize what you do. Because what you do is not about statistics, it's about people. It's about the personal testimonials that we gather here each year to hear. And it's the personal stories of tonight's awardees. It's about the quality of life of Captain Ferris Butler, Patrick Downs, and Jessica Kensky, and the trust that others have in us because of their experiences. I always say that our military is the greatest military in the world because our soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines, they don't have to look over their shoulder to check their 6 o'clock. They know it's covered. And they know if they're wounded, they're going to be quickly evacuated and receive first-class medical care. Well, that's due in large part to our doctors, to our corpsmen, and to our staff. It's also due to decisive, engaged leadership. Leaders who care, leaders who take the time to improve the process. Leaders who make sure our military professionals have the resources and the command climate within which to provide first-class, world-class care. Tonight, we honor two of those leaders, two senior leaders that have made an extraordinary contribution to military medicine, two leaders who care, and two leaders who truly don't require an introduction to this audience. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming this year's co-recipients of the Hero of Military Medicine Senior Leader Award, Generals Jay Paxton and Dan Allen.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. And Chairman, thank you for being with us and for your leadership. It's easy to follow in the footsteps of a great leader. And part of the reason many of us are here tonight is because we have visionaries and dedicated, concerned leaders like General Joe Dunford, who have done amazing things for our Marine Corps and now for our joint services in Iraq and Afghanistan and around the world. So, Chairman, thanks for taking time from your schedule to be with us tonight. Thank you. I'd like to thank the Henry Jackson Foundation, all of you, all 2,400 of you, but particularly John Lowe, Cynthia Gilman, Jackie Vandermeersch, for the things that you do every day for individual sponsorships, corporate sponsorships, and those sponsors who are here with us. My good friend John Madison, the folks at Wounded Warrior Project who are at the table with us tonight. But thank you for your dedication and your belief in what military medicine is all about, and as General Dunford said, delivering first-class care to the soldier, sailor, airman, and Marine. So ladies and gentlemen, if you'll bear with me just for a minute here, there's a couple of unique things I would be remiss if I didn't talk about tonight. As you heard mentioned earlier, I am following in the footsteps of a previous Henry Jackson Foundation Hero of Military Medicine and last year's first honoree for civilian contributions, and that's my lovely and talented wife, Debbie. So I learned I learned 36 years ago, first, to marry above my station, and second, to pay attention. I mean, I'm a grunt. My MOS starts with a 0. She actually taught me I had 2 kidneys. So I said, look, if I have 2 kidneys and 2 lungs and 2 arms, I got to have like 2 hearts and 2 brains. And I'm in another room still thinking about that one, so I won't tell you about that. But seriously, ladies and gentlemen, the first comment I have to thank is those who we are fortunate to have surround us. And it can start with a dedicated spouse at home, and you heard 2 of tonight's recipients talk about theirs and brag about their contributions. But indeed, we draw a lot from the folks who surround us. And I have been a better Marine and a better leader and a better commander for having Debbie at home. And she got me down to Balboa to see things like a C5 clinic, and out to Scripps and La Jolla to learn about vestibular problems and balance and hand-eye coordination and many of the after effects of the invisible wounds that have challenged us for the last 13 years. So I want to thank all of you here in the audience, both the medical professionals, the military leaders, and those corporate sponsors and researchers who bring us here to fix orthopedic injuries and bodies, but who also bring us here to work with TBI and PTSD to fix spirits and to put people back into life, let alone back into uniform. So how about giving a round of applause for everybody? I'm here very humbly to accept this on behalf of a lot of great people inside Big Marine Corps. I am here to recognize our shipmates and our medical providers within the Surgeon General's office and Navy Medicine, within the Medical Officer of the Marine Corps and Health Services, with our Marine and Family programs down at MF, and the 3-part MOU and cooperative body that they represent that brings world-class medical care to our Marines. I'm grateful for folks like Dr. Tracy Colmus and Dr. Mike Burmis, through the good offices of General Dunford, who help us do the outreach to the other services, to USIS, to VA, and to the research and analytic communities around the nation. Johns Hopkins, Cleveland, University of Pittsburgh, UCLA. I could go on and I would probably miss somebody. But I'm grateful to all of them for helping us who are in uniform kind of have the seed and have the spirit and have the energy that there's a direction to go. I'm grateful to share the stage with my battle buddy, Dan Allen. Dan and I met each other for the first time in Iraq in 2007, 2008, during the surge. We then came back, trained and organized folks who went into Afghanistan, and now we kind of share some pain in the house of pain together. But we have the unique privilege and the unique opportunity to advocate on behalf of military medicine, to advocate on behalf of research, and most importantly, to advocate on behalf of the uniformed service member, soldier, sailor, airman, Marine, guardsman, coastie, and their families. And that's a solemn calling, a high order, but truly that's why we come to work every day. There's a lot of things you don't want to do, but the opportunity to advocate and to make a life better for one of those service members is what it's all about. I was going to spike just for a minute extemporaneously here tonight, but I want to take the bait from John Madison. So if you bear with me, I want to talk about history. You did it, John. It's all your fault, okay? So when Dan and I met in 2007, 2008, we were going back into the surge in Iraq. And we have battle buddies and mates, some here tonight. And I'd ask them if they can right now to either stand or raise their hand if you were in Iraq and Afghanistan, because we're with you in spirit. God bless you. Thank you for your service. because we were doing the key work of the surge and the awakening in Iraq in May of 07, and then again in May of 2010 in Afghanistan, when we started work heavily in RC Southwest and RC East, and we were doing a lot of hard operations, and we lost a lot of great folks out there to injury. But it's all about bringing them back. As John Madison said, the evacuation rate, 97, 98%, getting them off the battlefield, and now getting them back into life. So the two pieces I want to talk to you about tonight, though, is this is the way it's always been. So I'm privileged tonight to be up here to share the stage with my Army battle buddy, my HUA mate, Dan Allen, to follow Forrest Faison. But I want to tell you a story that happened this week in 1945 on the Ryukyu Island chain in Okinawa. And there were two corps that went ashore. There was an Army Corps on one flank and a Marine Corps on the other flank. And inside the Marine Corps were a lot of great pharmacists, mate. And we had just come off an island called Iwo Jima, where we had fought for 36 days. 27 Medal of Honor recipients, 22 Marines, 5 sailors. Bloodiest battle for the Marine Corps in the Second World War. But it paled in insignificance next to Okinawa, because we had a lot of Army mates who were killed there, advancing the cause of freedom. And more importantly, we lost more sailors in that battle than anywhere else because of the kamikaze attacks. But in the Marine Corps, what we remember was 2 May in 1945, when the Marines did a counterattack and went through a slope on the way past Shuri Line up to Ryukyu Chain. And we had a pharmacist mate working with a platoon in 2nd Battalion, 5th Marines. That pharmacist mate was Bob Bush. And he went forward with that platoon into a counterattack when most of the platoon was decimated. And he stood his ground and started going around triaging and treating all the wounded Marines. And one of them needed plasma, and Bob Bush stood there, hooked up the plasma line, and as the Japanese started the counterattack, Bob Bush stood on that ground, holding the plasma bag, reached in, drew his service revolver, and started shooting. And when he ran out of ammunition for his service revolver, he grabbed a carbine off the ground and kept going. He almost lost his arm, he lost an eye. He refused to be evacuated until the counterattack was finished and until his patient could get out of there and live. Bob Bush was awarded and earned the Congressional Medal of Honor for that day. That's the kind of bravery and heroism we recognize in all the services, but that's the teamwork that we recognize between the Navy Marine team, between the joint team when you got Army and soldiers Army and Marines side by side. And as General Dunford said a minute ago, we wouldn't do any of that if we didn't think that somebody had our six and there were trained medical professionals there to get everybody back out alive and to keep them alive. So I'm here tonight to salute the 3 recipients, Colonel Bailey, Colonel Lenhart, and Commander Lang that were recognized earlier, to help you recognize Jessica, Patrick, and Captain Butler when they come up here, and to pay tribute to all those doctors and medical professionals, researchers and supporters who make this happen. We're proud to help advance that cause and to be just someone else who beats the drum to make sure everybody's taken care of. Thank you all. God bless you. Semper Fidelis.
Hey, as always, when you follow Jay Paxton, what he said. So, General Dunford, thanks for that kind introduction. Mr. Lowe and the entire Heroes of Military Medicine team, thanks for all you do to support the men and women in our military and their families. Most importantly, to the recipients of the Hero of Military Medicine Awards and Ambassador Awards, you are the true heroes tonight. And I'm honored and humbled to join you. For 35 years as an infantryman, I've experienced firsthand the skill, ingenuity, and passion of our medical professionals across the Joint Force. I've seen corpsmen, medics, doctors, nurses, and technicians from all services leverage their craft to save lives under the most demanding environments on the face of the earth. More than any other crucible, war brings out the worst and best of mankind. Without question, it is our military medical professionals who reflect the amazing light of creativity, compassion, and exquisite care. And it's especially brilliant in these darkest moments. This past February, I again saw this truth when I visited 2 Army Rangers at Walter Reed Medical Center shortly after their evacuation from Afghanistan. Wounded on the objective of a high-value target, one of the sergeants was shot twice, one bullet passing through his thorax and the other through his shoulder. Immediately, the Rangers applied Buddy Aid, and the Ranger medics controlled his bleeding and administered freeze-dried plasma, a cutting-edge product developed through the Investigational New Drug Initiative. After a difficult exfil, flight medics aboard the MH-47 continued to stabilize the Ranger. And using ultrasound in flight, they identified another wound, causing heavy internal bleeding. After a tail-to-tail swap, an Air Force flight surgeon inserted 2 chest tubes and performed a thoracotomy, opening his entire left chest to identify the hemorrhage and surgically correct it. After 4 minutes of traumatic arrest, the Ranger regained his breathing and stabilized. He was flown to Bagram, stabilized further, and then transferred directly to Walter Reed, where I had the honor of meeting him as he left the intensive care unit. This Ranger's story is simply amazing, and one of the thousands our service members have experienced in this long war. There is no military on the face of this earth that matches our level of medical care for its warriors, from the battlefields to the trauma centers. And as I spoke with this Ranger's father and sister, the thanks I saw in their eyes is the strongest possible tribute to the doctors, nurses, clinicians, and technicians who aided this great young American, and proof that military medicine changes lives. So as we share a few moments together this evening, I ask that we keep this Army Ranger story in the forefront of our minds. Soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines are the reason we are gathered here today. And to the Jackson Foundation and all the military medical professionals in the audience tonight, your efforts, each and every day, are fundamental to maintaining the readiness, resilience, and battlefield dominance of our joint force. So on behalf of a grateful Army and a grateful nation, thanks for what you do. God bless you. Army strong.